Call to order the Middletown City Council meeting for Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. Hopefully, if you're watching, you are now experiencing the newly cleaned lens on the camera. Thank you, city staff. It looks much better on YouTube now, so we're fresh as ever. We'll start this evening with a moment of meditation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Mr. Mueller-Paw from the meeting.
Second.
Ms. King, could you please call the roll? Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
And Ms. King, can you please call the roll for the meeting?
Mayor Condrey?
Here.
Mr. Farrell?
Here.
Mrs. Thomas?
Here.
Mr. Moon?
Here.
Okay, this evening we have a presentation of a proclamation recognizing October as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month and the 25th anniversary of Atrium Medical Center's HEAL program. Do we have a representative from Atrium here? If you want to come up to the dais, we can present the proclamation. Sure. Okay, so I have a proclamation to read. Whereas October is National Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. During the entire month, we take time to honor and remember those who have lost a child during pregnancy or lost a child in infancy. And whereas dealing with death in the family is never easy. The death of a baby, either through a miscarriage or during infancy, is no exception. Atrium Medical Center Nursery Young started the Help Endure a Loss or HEAL program 25 years ago when she saw a need for families experiencing the loss of a child or pregnancy. And whereas HEAL provides emotional support, like support groups and memorial events, while helping families through the logistics of memorializing a child. All the HEAL services are offered completely free of charge and are available to any family who needs them, not just those who have received care at Atrium. It's one of the many ways Atrium Medical Center is proud to show Middletown's heart. And whereas the city of Middletown is deeply grateful for the kindness and compassion shown to the families who have experienced the devastating loss of a child and for the tremendous support they have received from the HEAL services over the past 25 years. Now therefore I, Mayor Nicole Condrey, on behalf of the city of Middletown, counties of Butler and Warren, state of Ohio, do hereby recognize the month of October 2023 as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. Thank you guys for all you do for our community. We're so grateful. You just continue to give back in so many ways, and you're an integral part of definitely the heart of Middletown, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sure. We want to do a photo. Let's stand in front of this because this kind of looks strange. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda this evening, we have citizen comments. I have 3 comment cards. We'll have you come up to the dais, state your name and address for the record, and we have up to 4 minutes if you'd like to speak. We have Jeff Randolph, followed by Christy Dirch, Deanna Shores, and then Douglas Program. So Jeff Randolph, if you want to come up first. Good. Oh, can you move that mic? I just turned it to, yep, rotate it on back. Thank you.
Okay, is that better?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Yeah, my name's Jeff Randolph, and I live at 4506 Renaissance Park Drive, and it's in Renaissance. And My question's concerning the sewage bill and how it's billed and the cost. So, like I said, we moved here in May from Florida and found out I got a Franklin mailing address, which kind of blows my mind. And then I find out that I've got to pay my taxes to Middletown, that's property and income taxes. And then I just found out recently I got a water bill from Warren County because that's who supplies the water out there. And then I get a sewage bill from Middletown. And I'm really confused because I get a bill from Warren County every 2 months, and I get a sewage bill from Middletown every month. And the cost is just out of this world. The sewage costs are double what the water bill cost is, roughly. And so I went up to Warren County, met with a gentleman by the name of Chris Brosh, and he informed me that the only option I had, because the bill is so high, it's all due to outside use. And when I talked to the people in Middletown, they said, look, we don't know where the water's going. You get charged at 100% of your water bill goes on the sewage. So I talked to Chris up there in Warren County. He told me I could put on an irrigation meter that would cost me roughly $500. I would have to get a backflow, which would have to be checked by a certified plumber and pay an annual fee of roughly $150 a month. So after that, he suggested I reach out to Middletown, which I did. And I talked to, is it Scott Tadish? And found out that if I lived in the city limits of Middletown, they would put a deduct meter on my water line. I can't have one put on because Warren County won't allow Middletown to put stuff on their water pipes. So my question is, you know, I had a water bill total between water and sewage of $560 a month. And yeah, that's what well, excuse me, every 2 months, I guess it was. So I'm just really trying to figure out what I can do. And is anybody else aware of this? Because I talked to other people in Renaissance, and we kind of feel like the annex of Middletown, and nobody really cares. You know, they say they call. And even when I talked to Scott, he said, yeah, we get a lot of calls about it, but it doesn't seem like anybody's doing anything about it. So I don't know why I'm not entitled to a deduct meter if other people in Middletown that pay taxes are. So I don't know if anybody's got any answer, and I don't expect a back and forth, but I don't know how to get this resolved. I mean, it was a shock. I moved here from Florida and watered my lawn and shrubs 3 times a week, and my water and sewage bill was a third of this. So it just, like I said, it doesn't seem right to me, and I don't know how we get it addressed.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I think this is there's an opportunity to probably work with the county on this a little differently, and I would hope.
Yeah,
so,
me too.
well, yeah. So, is that something maybe?
Yeah, I'll
guys might
discuss
be
it
able
with
to-
Public Works Director and see what's been done in the past and what
Yeah.
conversations they've had and if there's anything we can do. A large part of your issue was you did a lot of watering, correct? More than normal, and
I don't deny using the water, but to be arbitrarily to double it,
the
like I said,
runoff.
you know, and again, not to pick on people, but when I talked to a clerk in the building department at Middletown, her area, how do we know your toilet's not leaking? And I said, my toilet only leaks in the summer months. Come on, you know, it's common sense. And when I did talk to the gentleman, Chris, up there in Warren County, he said that Warren County water usage people, they put a cap on in the summertime because they realize that the majority of the water used in the summertime is for irrigation, watering shrubs, cars, boats, just water pressure in your house, that type of thing. There's no cap, to my knowledge, on any water usage in Middletown. So these are just things that, you know, I think could be explored. And I'll probably end up getting an irrigation meter put on because, again, I like a nice yard. I would think the city of Middletown would like the residents to have homes that look nice and are presentable.
We'll definitely. I'm sure Paul will help look into it and get city staff and maybe keep us in the loop on. I didn't realize that was an issue out in Renaissance. So thank you.
And Scott has your contact information, Scott Tadish, I
I've talked
believe.
to Scott
Yeah, we also
twice,
have it here.
and I've talked to Chris in Warren County. They've both been very helpful, very pleasant guys, but like I say, seems like it always comes back my problem. And like I said, you know, again, if you get a water bill that's 180 and then you turn around and get a sewer bill 2 weeks later and you get $360, you get $540,
Yeah.
it's like, oh my God, you know, it's something I don't budget.
Thank you.
plan
Yeah.
for. So,
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank
And
you.
welcome to Middletown.
all right. Thank you.
Hopefully that's not our welcome package as a big old bill, but we're grateful to have you.
All right, well, thank you for your time. And like I said, will somebody get back with me, or what will I hear? or-
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll get
yep.
back with
We'll
you.
make sure the staff has all your contact info.
Okay, well, appreciate your time, and
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Yes, sir.
Next, we have Christy Dirge and Deanna Shores.
Hello, I'm Christy Durich, 1050 Central Avenue Safety Council.
And I am Deanna Shores, the same.
We're here to talk about Middletown Connect. Hopefully you guys got the video link that I sent. You watched it to kind of recap the program. But it's resident-led change to improve health, but also to help restore the pride where we all reside, one connection at a time. We are working in census tracts 130, 131, and 132, continuing what we started last year, and we're now expanding into 122, 141, and 144, where we'll do the same thing. We look at the data at the census level, we engage the community ambassadors, and we listen to them as to what they want to do in their neighborhoods, and we help make it happen along with engaging our health improvement partners. Those are city and system leaders, just trying to, we're not asking anyone to do anything they're not already doing, but what are you doing, and what can we intentionally bring to these people in these census tracts? So it's been so much fun, and to see the pride just ripple effect through those communities has been awesome. But Deanna's going to tell you about something we have coming up this next week.
Hello, hello. So one of the things, a part of engagement with the community is also just really making connections and trying to build up certain neighborhoods, which I know Middletown has laid out some projects that they want to do neighborhood-wide. So one of our newest partners is Liberty Heights Church. They do hold church here in Middletown in a small church off of Leby. And they are in our new census tract. So we are celebrating them and their efforts to do a Middletown Blitz next week, and it starts on Sunday. And they'll actually, they've ordered dumpsters, and some of you might have seen some things come across your desk. The city of Middletown has been a great partner. And the two areas, they're gonna do cleanups from 2 to 5 on Sunday. Our Fleming Park, which I didn't really know that was called Fleming Park. If you're not familiar, if you come on out of the city building and going down, I guess that's Reinhardt's, over to your right, you kind of see this park. Well, the park actually is not just a basketball court, it actually goes up and there's a big field there as well. So they'll be doing that community area, doing some cleanup. They have dumpsters, so this is not just a grab, trash off the street. This is an opportunity to really get rid of some big items. So we wanted people to know about that, and also for people to come out and volunteer. In the Oakland area, they will be doing the same on Sunday as well from 2 to 5 p.m. So there'll be 2 dumpsters, one at Fleming, one at Oakland, for their use. In the middle of the week, they'll be doing some prayer walks and different things on Wednesday, I believe, throughout Middletown, and they'll also be sharing about their block party, which will be on Sunday, October 29th. There'll be hot dogs, popcorn, cider, face painting, bounce houses, but I thought really normal stuff at a festival. I wanted to make sure that we shared. There'll also be some money management, legal resources, job and resume guidance, medical screenings, by Premier Health, another one of our HIP partners. So a part of Middletown Connect is just really making sure people can make the connections to the services that they need, but we also want to be a partner to those who want to partner in our community. So.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all you're doing, and also for all the ambassadors. I know they're putting in a lot of time and energy, so grateful.
There was a lot of them here today.
Awesome.
Earlier.
Okay, Douglas Program.
I'm Douglas Program, South Libby, and thank you for having me here. It's about taxes, not owing taxes or what's paid, but I've been getting forms all year long for failure to pay and failure to pay on time, which I have zero balance. I'm retired. I do not have a taxable income. But I was reading your forms and everything, and every form has the same thing on there. May be in court and may be in collections. Well, do one or the other. Just, you should know if you're the tax department what you're doing with me. So anyway, they're going to go ahead and turn me into collections, but they don't have a judgment on me yet. And it's just for failure to file, $75. But my point is I asked for the records, on some of this, on the people in Middletown. And if there's 50,000 people in this town, now you tell me if I'm wrong, and say about 8,000 kids in school, a couple more thousand in preschool, at least 40,000 adults that's over 18. Well, your tax department only collected 18,000 returns. You're missing 22,000 returns. And these are your rules. And it's not whether you owe money or not, it's failure to file. And even if you have no income, I mean, you can be in jail, under a bridge, in a hospital, or just independently wealthy and not need to work and use your own money. But you're missing 20,000 returns. And you need to, and that's just local residents. That's not counting people that work out of town. And I talked to somebody that was probably not really in a position in the tax department that couldn't answer my questions. But where does it start? How much money do you have to make before you file? And they didn't really know that. And naturally, you can't go on $100, you'll be collecting $2 all the time. But you've got 35,000 trucks a year that go into AK. Are they working? Do they owe money? None of this is clear on your income. But why waste time with making people file? Maybe file one time, this is my situation, so you know where they're at, but not year after year to put 0 on your forms. And then the thing is, the tax department's not even taking care of it. Like I said, you're missing 20,000 returns. And Mrs. Zimmerman got the information to me real fast. There's actually 18,500 people that did file. And I would say 100% of that's from legitimate companies that have a payroll service or do the payroll themselves on that, which is fine. But like I said, might be losing out on millions of dollars too on people that are working. So well, thank you for your time. Any questions?
Thank you. Paul, I would be interested to get some statistics on
Sure.
how many residents file and the total taxes that come from that, how many
people's over
non-residents.
18?
And since you've had some talks with Mrs. Zimmerman, she's got your contact, I would assume.
Well, she gave me the number of people that filed, 18,000.
Okay. So we can get a hold of you.
Yeah, we have a
You got his card? Okay.
phone number.
Okay.
You don't even know where to start.
Okay.
I mean, lottery tickets, bingo, whatever. You got a 2% tax. And, maybe, one nice thing though, is on all of your tax forms, you put on here, you've got must file W-2, 1099, or 1040 off your federal. But if you read your federal forms, you don't have to file unless you make $12,000. So the city wants to fine me for not using a federal form that the federal government says I don't have to file on. So you need to have your rules, your taxes, not follow somebody else's. And like I said, if people don't work and have any income, I wouldn't make them file. It's a waste of time. Thank you.
Thank you for raising that. Okay, next we have council comments. We'll start with Mr. Moon.
Only one comment. I would just say I'm going to be out of town next meeting, so would just ask for an excused absence next meeting. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Mrs. Thomas.
Thank you. I actually had the opportunity to present a few proclamations 2 weekends ago, and just wanted to share a little bit about those. I had a proclamation at the Hispanic Heritage Festival that was held downtown Middletown at the Governor's Square, and was so well attended, and they had a whole food truck park over at Swallens with so much good food and such great culture. And so I just wanted to thank the organizers, the Latinos Unidos de Middletown, the LUM organization, which is somewhat newly established in Middletown, but they're growing in numbers. If you're interested in following them on Facebook to see what else they've got going on throughout the year, I would encourage you to do so. And then that was done in conjunction with DMI, who helped them put on a lot of the events downtown and with the city of Middletown as well. And then later that evening, I had the opportunity to attend the Sons of Italy 60th anniversary gala of their lodge here in Middletown. They were all very well dressed, and it was down at the Windermere, and it was just so nice to see so many celebrations of culture in Middletown on that day. So congratulations to the Sons of Italy on their 60th anniversary this year. And then I just wanted to thank Christy and Deanna for all of their hard work and their volunteerism in Middletown and cleaning up our neighborhoods. So that's all I have for today.
Thank you, and thanks for stepping in.
Yeah, it was last
Grateful.
minute, but I was excited to do it. I only get to do the proclamations when Nicole happens to be out of town skydiving somewhere fabulous.
Well, thank you for
yeah.
stepping in. Appreciate it. Mr. Farrell.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Two things. First off, just wanted to say, Councilman Meterspall's wife's heading into emergency surgery, so I told him I'd say actually 6 o'clock, so just pray for her. And so second thing is, Monica, I have to say, as I sit here and my time will be done shortly with all of you all up here, I always appreciate the fact of there's some things that go on in the city that I don't even know about, and you're always a resource for that. As I sit here and look back on that, and I think you always have something positive to say or something that's going on in the city that oftentimes I don't even know about. So I appreciate that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I was just going to add that the next council meeting will actually be election night, so don't forget Tuesday, September 7th is election night. I also just wish all of the candidates the best of luck. I know it's super stressful. Just keep on getting out there and listening to Middletown, because that's the most important thing we can do. So best of luck to everyone. And that's all I have this evening. That brings us to city manager reports.
Okay, Mayor Condrey and council members, the first thing I want to bring up before we get into the budget reports are want to let everybody know that Fall Fest will be occurring on October 28th from noon to 5 at Sunset Park. I don't know if you got a chance to be at the first annual one last year, but it's a really cool event. Jerry does a great job in getting food trucks and farmers market and pumpkin patches and games for kids and awesome music. Even an American Idol contestant will be there. So it really is a fun day for everybody to get out and see. Hopefully the weather will be beautiful like it was for the Hispanic Festival. That was a really cool thing. Probably one of the more cool car shows I've seen because it was different. It wasn't like your antique cars and everything. It was really souped up, speakers in cars, and trucks. So
It was loud.
it was really neat. That heritage, Alexandra, G Knight, and DMI and Jerry did a great job with that downtown. And so come out to Fall Fest. It's going to be a wonderful time.
Fall Fest has a lot of free activities for kids.
Oh yes,
too,
a lot
right?
of free activities.
I think that's
Thank
why
you.
it was so well attended in the first year, because there was really just a lot of fun things for kids to do for free.
And I think it's one of those things that us going out and creating that community events position, and getting out and doing things in the community that has taken Middletown in the right direction. So with that, first on our budget area is I want to invite Judge James Sharon up to talk about the municipal court budget.
Good to
I have a
see you.
head cold. I apologize in advance. I'm losing my voice. So, but I only have 2 pages, so it won't take long.
Okay.
Middletown Municipal Court usually appears before you for a budget presentation that is more of a performance-based budget. We list all of the court's accomplishments and preview some of the new challenges and issues for the upcoming year. We've spoken primarily about items and issues that affect case volume and require more time per case. We usually don't go through the budget document by line item because you have it presented to you already. We should first give a little bit of background and discuss the role we each have in this process. Middletown Municipal Court was established by statute in 1914. It has jurisdiction not only over the city of Middletown, but also the city of Trenton and the townships of Madison and Lemon. The city of Middletown is our funding authority. The budget process is primarily between the court and the city council with the assistance of the city manager and finance director. The city currently provides for approximately 1/3 of the court's general fund, which is about 1.91% of the city's income tax revenue. The remainder of the court's fund is generated by court costs and fees. Excuse me. The court has an imperative as stated by the Ohio Judicial Conference policy statement on court costs. It says, although it may be appropriate in some circumstances for the government to charge a user fee for services received, such is not the case for access to justice, for it is an essential right of the people. Further, any requirement upon the court to depend on fines, costs, fees, and taxes levied upon the people in order to provide for the court's support encourages corruption, injustice, and should be resisted. Former Chief Justice Maureen O'Connor put it a little more simply in a letter that she sent to all of the judges throughout Ohio in 2018. She said, "Courts are centers of justice, not automatic teller machines where the purpose is to generate revenues for government, including themselves." Allocation of monies collected by the court are separated into 2 categories. First is the general fund. This fund is more flexible and provides for most of the expenses of the court. Second category is special court funds. These funds are established by statute and local ordinances here in the city of Middletown and have a specific purpose such as computerization, probation, etc. These funds are cumulative and expenditures are at the sole discretion of the court. My eyes are getting worse. Case law states that Ohio courts have the inherent power to issue an order requiring the funding authority to pay for the reasonable and necessary expenses of operating the courts, and it may not impede a court's business by refusing reasonable funding requests. The determination of what is reasonable and necessary funding requests rests solely with the court. Other branches of government may not substitute their judgment for that of the court. Requests for funding from courts are presumptively reasonable and valid. The funding authority may only refuse a court's request if the funding authority can demonstrate that the order constitutes an abuse of discretion and is unreasonable. Even if the court's request would work a hardship or burden upon other offices or agencies, the funding authority must comply with the order if the funding request is reasonable. It's never happened here. Hopefully it never will happen here. With that said, we generally receive an initial budget with a bottom line number and usually acquiesced to what the executive branch has requested through the city manager. We do this because we empathize with the city's position and make every effort to work with the city. In other words, we've come to a mutual understanding on the city's physical position and agree with its priorities. This year has been fundamentally different. The budget process has been a moving target with various changes during the process and very little understanding of the overall budget goals. Just a few days ago, the court was made aware of reclassifications and policy changes proposed for 2024 and beyond. These changes will necessitate changes to the court's staff classifications. These will have a direct impact on the court budget. The court may have changes to the budget that have been presented to, by the city administration. These changes may impact the amount that the city subsidizes the court. We always strive to meet the bottom line number, but we simply do not know what that number is at this time. We want to make you aware of these issues, and we can certainly discuss the matters further as needed. The next action, as it has always been in the past, will be the court signing a pay and benefit order and delivering to the council and various city departments. Hopefully, no significant changes, but we don't know yet. Thank you.
Judge, when is your Veterans Court that you hold? I can't remember which days it's on, your Veterans Court.
It's twice a month on Thursdays, the first and third Thursdays of the month.
First and third Thursdays.
Speaking
what
of
time?
which, I hope to see each and every one of you at the Veterans Day service and luncheon on Veterans Day, November 11th at noon at the American Legion. You're all invited. You should have gotten them already. Thank you. Which the Veterans Court just got recertified this year.
Oh, congratulations.
I do regret I'll be out of town that weekend, Judge. I do regret I'll be out of, we'll be on vacation that week. That's why I'm going to miss the next meeting as well. So send my best. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have public safety budget
Okay,
presentation.
next
is
we
that
have the
right?
public safety budget presentation. So if you bring up the first slide, please. So 2024 budget, in regards to the overall general fund balance, once again, you see the overall general fund balance will be at approximately $12,540,451 $1,000. In 2024, our increase in non-public safety personnel costs will be an increase of about $361,000, and the 2024 increase in public safety personnel costs will be approximately $569,733,000. And most of that is due to, once again, the collective bargaining agreements that we've made with police and fire. Next slide, please. Right here, getting into further into the summary and talking about public safety totals, you'll see that 27 in 2024 we'll have a total in Division of Police and Division of Fire, where police has a $15.2 million budget and fire has an $11.9 million budget, will be about $27,199,000, or about a 0.50, a 0.5% increase. Some notes: 643,011 of the police division personnel costs will be covered by two special revenue funds not shown in the general fund figures. This is a one-time budget positioning action to help us absorb new police personnel positions. Two new patrol officer positions will be added. And as far as the Division of Police collective bargaining agreements in 2024 in police and patrol, they'll see a 3% increase in sergeants and lieutenants, a 3.25%, corrections, dispatch, and police civilian employees, a 3% increase. In fire, there'll be an added new fire lieutenant position to be funded by the general fund that will be put in the fire marshal's office to assist our fire marshal with investigations and inspections. The fire collective bargaining agreement expires December 31st of 2023, so we will begin soon negotiating with our fire union, and it remains to be seen what the contract negotiations will bring forward in 2024. We have budgeted a 3% increase in personal services salaries for 2024. Next slide, please. Specifically in the Division of Fire, the Division of Fire is broken up into 3 areas: fire administration, fire operations, fire training and prevention. You see that the majority of the fire department budget is in fire operations, which is about 10.5 of the 11.9, and most of that is personal services cost. The fire administration consists of the chief, the assistant chief, and the administrative assistant. And fire training consists of our fire marshal, fire lieutenant in the fire marshal's office. Our fire marshal is a captain. He will have an assistant in that area who will be at the rank of lieutenant. In the EMS division, we have a captain and an EMS lieutenant. In our fire training operations, we have a fire captain and a fire lieutenant. Next slide, please. Some of the goals and objectives for the Division of Fire include to continue to implement the 2018 deployment and staffing analysis, begin the process of revising and updating the strategic plan that was done in 2017, continue to work with other organizations and city staff on community response to overdoses, and identify and apply for capital grants to purchase and replace older equipment, including air quality monitors, cardiac monitoring equipment. Just for example, one EKG machine that we use out in the field is nearly $50,000. A capnography device, develop a fire administration succession plan to prepare future leadership of the Division of Fire, and continue to complete the construction of the 4 new fire stations. Next slide, please. In the Division of Police, the Division of Police is broken into administration, criminal investigation, uniform patrol, narcotics, police services, police and fire dispatch, and jail management. As you see, like in the Division of Fire, those out in uniform patrol serve as the bulk of the budget. It is further broken down, as I said, into the administration, narcotics, police services, police and fire dispatch, and jail management. As you see, the significant decrease there in narcotics is due to some transfer of funds from other areas. Next slide, please. Some of the Division of Police 2024 goals: crime and calls for service reductions, continue to try and reduce Part 1 crimes and calls for services, capitalize on our animal control position to work with the department and the community, train personnel to improve employee job performance, new trends, and look into new trends in law enforcement, maintain relationships with outside agencies, to utilize task force strategies to address community, criminal, and nuisance property or problems, and continue to work with the Ohio State Patrol on traffic enforcement, utilize new traffic officers for both speed and accident reduction throughout the city, reduce use of force situations, as well as continue the reduction of citizens' complaints, finalize the accreditation of the police department in 2024, and analyze, implement recommendations of the study we did on the police division assessment, the 2023 assessment. Next slide, please. Some staffing changes for 2024. You'll see in the police, the addition of the 2 officers takes the total police divisions to 116, so up 2 with the addition of the 2 additional officers. And then in fire, there's a mistake there on 2024 in the 91 number. That should be 86. And that will be the addition of the one lieutenant and fire marshal. So my apologies, it should say 86, not 91. And that would be broken down. Obviously, most of our personnel are in operations, those guys out on the trucks and the medic units. And I think that might be the last slide, correct? Yeah. So if there's any questions, I can...
I had a few questions. Jumping back to fire, I see on the personnel, we're seeing a jump from the EMT level to the paramedic level. Do you remember what the ratio in that contract was?
So in the original agreement with the city between, when our numbers were reduced in 2014 to begin increasing the numbers back in the Division of Fire, because we went from 92 down to 64. We reached an agreement with the city administration at the time that for every 3 firefighter paramedics who would retire, we would bring back 4 firefighter EMTs at a reduced cost. So what we were trying to build on is a combination of about 60% of our personnel were firefighter paramedics and 40% of our personnel were firefighter EMTs. We found some challenges with that ratio, and we're actually trying to build that ratio up to at least 70-30. We'll be in negotiations. Those agreements expire December 31st of 2023 here, so we'll be addressing those in the new collective bargaining agreement.
But not looking to phase that out, I hope.
The only problem is that 60-40 paramedic to EMT ratio challenges us to assure we are able to staff the medic units with 2 paramedics.
Okay. My other question was on police under personnel uniform patrol. I know we have 57 budgeted in 2023. How many do we actually have on, like, hired? I assume there's some
So
folks that
we
are
have
open positions.
Yeah, we're down 3,
Okay.
and we're going to bring in 2 more, and we hope to be up to full staffing there in 2024.
Okay, great. That'd be a significant improvement.
Yes.
You can hire.
And we have one good thing at Chief Burke, as reported to us, is that they have several new officers who are ending their field training, have ended within the recent weeks, and will be ending in the next coming weeks their field training area where they will be able to be out in cars on their own.
Thank you.
I had actually a question, not about the public safety portion. It's a general question from last meeting about economic development's budget. I don't know if you're in the mindset to answer, but to me, their budget's the one that should have an extreme return on investment. And so, like, it's like marketing, right? Like, we can never spend too much almost because we get, in theory, the money back. But I see that we're decreasing the budget by 40% for economic development. Is there a...
Yep, you want to take it?
Yeah, if memory serves me correct, Mayor, the reason for that drastic of a decrease was that previous year budget had a large appropriation for property acquisition. There is no planned property acquisition this year or related costs for the 24 budget, and so that's why there was that large of a reduction. I can't remember the exact amount, but there was a 6-figure dollar amount attached to property acquisition costs.
Okay. And I know, thank you for sending the ledger for the hotel tax fund. Maybe this is kind of a half appropriate time to talk about it since it's budgeting. Do we have a plan for that? I mean, looking at it, first of all, I'm glad to see how challenge was one of them. I think that's an obvious, in theory, should be heads in beds kind of event. I see women's wine and chocolate. The Pride event was on there. Marketing advertisements. I know the Primo piece was planning to come out of that. I don't know, the McGill Smith, I don't know what all that is. I imagine it may have to do with the interstate project, because I could see that being a, but my point is, who is even managing the hotel fund? Who's making the decisions about what the funds get spent on, and where are we going with that?
City administration, I mean, myself, Nathan, and finance, what we are trying to do is mimic exactly what was done by the previous Visitors Bureau, and that's essentially what we are trying to mimic and manage it ourselves. We are talking to a couple groups about the possibility of filling the void left by the past Visitors Bureau, but you know, we just haven't settled on what our best option is.
Okay. I feel like there probably should be a discussion with council again about, in theory, what are the goals of, because obviously we moved away from the Visitors Bureau, and I don't feel like that
We just felt, you know, really what we've done in the past, the last two visitor bureaus have not been successful. There's been problems.
Right.
And we feel it's a lot easier for us to administrate it through city administration on our own, to assure that those dollars go to try to put heads in beds and promote Middletown. And I think, you know, that's pretty much what we've been doing, and having direct control over that.
And Paul, the charter that established the bed tax allows for that implementation of the use of those funds, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's a special revenue fund that has very strict guidelines for its usage as to how we handle it, so.
Well, it saves an entire salary for someone. That's a part of.
Right.
I mean, that's half your budget.
Yep.
I think at one point it was more than that, so.
So I kind of agree with the way it's done now, personally, unless I
Do you think that, to the mayor's point, that the use of those funds and the strategic use of those funds is something that city council is interested in being in the loop on and prioritizing when we set
Plan.
When we set priorities as a council?
Right.
I think that is one of the funds that, you know, should be considered in that prioritization. When we have our annual, planning meeting, we talk about how do we want to spend these funds this year? How did we spend them last year? And just to be a part of that conversation.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Duly noted. Yep.
Since there always was sort of an advisory and an administrative sort of element to having a board of community members that was involved in the Visitors Bureau, I think that's maybe the goal.
Okay.
But I do think that those events and those ways that we spent money this year have brought people into Middletown. And a lot of the events that the mayor listed bring in people from outside of Middletown. I know the Women's Wine and Chocolate Walk specifically, they've got, data on how many people from Middletown buy tickets to that. And it's a much smaller number than you would think. It's almost all people from out of town coming into those kind of events.
And we've tried to utilize additional communication means, radio, TV, besides print media, to reach the masses. And hopefully we'll see a really return on. I'm really excited about Christmas in downtown, especially downtown, because I think we've got some really neat things going on down there, and we've got some good advertisement plan to get people to come to downtown Middletown, which it's going to be a very merry Middletown.
And sort of taking a unilateral approach to that too, right? Getting all of the organizations to the table and then figuring out what you can do together.
Absolutely. And that's one thing, we've come together with the city and DMI and Holiday Hoopla to come together and make all three organizations work to once again make Middletown a very merry Middletown this year.
I think you should dress up as Santa. That's what the people want.
I'm not fat enough.
Give the people what they want. We can pad your suit.
My wife probably said I am. She's watching this.
Any other budget questions? Okay, anything else for the city manager report? That's it?
That should be it, yes.
Okay. That brings us to consent agenda. Ms. Skank, will you please present that for us?
For your consideration this evening, we have the approval of the city council minutes from November 1st, 2022, to receive and file the board and commission minutes of the library board from May the 17th, June the 2nd, June the 21st, July the 19th, and August 16th, 2023. The Board of Zoning Appeals minutes from August the 23rd and September 6th, 2023. Board of Health minutes from September 12th, 2023. To confirm the personnel appointment of Matt Godey to the position of maintenance worker in the Department of Public Works and Utilities Stormwater Division, and Antoinette Coleman to the position of part-time administrative assistant in the City Manager Department. To receive and file oaths of office for Penny Fletcher, Jennifer Holland, and William Hurst. To authorize the city manager to enter to a 2-year contract with Schulte Business Services for snow and ice removal at the Middletown Regional Airport at a cost not to exceed $13,000 per year. And to receive and file the certificate of estimated life and maximum maturity for the fire station improvement project.
I would move that matters listed under the consent agenda be considered routine and enacted by one motion and one vote of consent.
Second?
Ms. Ganku, please call the roll.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
No.
On the motion agenda, we have to authorize the purchase of a post-aeration equipment from Henry P. Thompson Company at a cost not to exceed $130,350.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions on the motion agenda? Ms. Ganku, please call the roll.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Ready for legislation.
Great. Here I was thinking we'd be able to just slide right in, but I did want to make a note that there are 2 emergency items tonight, and because Mr. Meterspaw is not here, they would require a unanimous vote. So just throwing that out there for your guys' consideration. I think that we have item 2 and number 4 are first reading emergencies. So with that, though, we'll slide into legislative item number 1, which is ordinance number O-2023-93, an ordinance amending sections 1040.03, 1042.02, and 1042.05 of the Middletown Codified Ordinances establishing sewer and water rates, and this is a second reading.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
No further comment.
Did we hear back from the major users, commercial users?
We met with one of the major users yesterday and got positive feedback, and we are in the process of talking with the others.
Any comments or questions? Okay, Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Item number 2 is ordinance number O-2023-94, an ordinance authorizing a contract with Renascent Incorporated for demolition of the site known as the Middletown Paperboard and declaring an emergency.
So moved for adoption.
Second?
I'd like to introduce Tom Minery with Burgess and Nipel once again to give you an overview of where we're at with the paperboard and with this tonight. I think very soon, if this passes, we're going to see bulldozers on the ground, and hopefully we'll have a large part of it gone by the end of the year. So, Tom?
Mayor and City Council, hope that goes okay. I spoke to you about 4 months ago, if you recall. We talked about there was a strong recommendation that we move quickly and to get this thing going. So over the course of the last several months, I should say, we've been putting together the plans and specs. It went out to bid. We did receive an appropriate bid. We received several of them. Actually, we received 10. We were very happy about that. 10 bids that have made us look at the money that was allocated, looking very, very solid. So with all that in mind, the apparent low bidder was Renascent. We did a very detailed background on them with regards to checking out their references and even contacting several entities that they did work for that did not put down. And we felt very, very solid about them. We're actually looking forward to working with them. We emphasize the fact that City Council and our Deborah Wells and Ashley Combs, they said on time and on budget, Mr. Mary. And I think that's the movement. We did hear that they do not, all the references that they provided did not have a whole lot of change orders. And I think that's really important on a project like this. And as I talked last over 4 or 5 months ago, on a project like this, there's probably going to be a couple things that we just don't expect, okay? So with all that being said, over the last several weeks, we've been working with them and looking at their bid much more closely and in a very detailed manner, saying, is this really what you meant? And we had a number of different conversations with them. We feel comfortable with where they are right now, and I think it's going to be close to being put into your legislation as far as approving a contract with them. So the big question that everybody's asking, I've already been hit with 3 or 4 questions. Okay, when is something going to be moving? And Paul alluded to it. I'm going to suggest to you that we should be seeing some yellow iron. And when I say yellow iron, I'm to Paul's point, we're talking about bulldozers and backhoes and things that looks like something's really happening. The first thing that's going to happen is asbestos abatement. And yes, we are going to be taking some things from the inside of the building. That's the first thing you want to do. The second thing is the walls come crumbling down. And that's, you're probably going to be seeing something in early to mid-November. Will the building be down at the end of this year? No. You will see significant progress, though. And if everything goes right, we should be done with this project near the end of June. I know that seems like a long time. It's a big site, and I'll say that real slow, folks. It's a big site, and but we feel comfortable with the allocation that's been made and us being able to do some phase 2 work very soon, or probably in the early to mid spring. We are looking positive, and we're looking forward to working with Reticent. Questions?
The goal of the demolition is to make it site ready for something else, right?
Correct. And it will not be residential, Mayor. I think we all agreed upon that going back a number of months. In fact, that's what the bid, and more importantly, that's what the funding was based on. It will be commercial industrial. Okay?
And that being said, as far as the zoning for the city, does that allow for pretty much any business type, or like, okay, the word industrial everyone always gets touchy about, which is of course not necessarily what everyone thinks of as industrial, but is the goal to allow pretty much any type of business there as long as it's not residential, or will there still be restrictions on the types of commercial use?
As far as your zoning, that's outside.
Well, yeah, it's not the zoning. It's so much more environmental questions is what I'm asking.
Okay. So we're going to have to make some judgments in the future as to whether or not we want a kindercare on that site. We may not. That might be the one restriction that I can think of that could occur on that.
What did you just say? We might not want a what?
A kindercare or something.
Oh, yeah.
For child care.
Because it's a business, but it's also one that involves children.
Correct.
Yeah.
And many hours.
I'm not saying no.
Right.
Not saying no. I'm just saying that is one possible restriction, to your point, Mayor, that could occur as a result of our results that we'll get in the upcoming 4 to 6 months.
I think we had always talked about that being what staff had described as light industrial, which was where the confusion about industrial versus light industrial being something that allows for R&D and technology development. Absolutely. And that sort of thing, not the same as high industrial.
It's actually within the guidelines that we're proposing to use. You could do both, but I understand your point.
Right. From a city planning perspective and just the conversations that city council has had, I think that's probably the goal.
Fair point.
Yeah.
I could definitely say having some movement on that site before the end of the year would feel good, because it was the first day of our term is when that fire occurred. Man, that's a long time to have it sitting there. So glad to hear that maybe some movement of a brick here or there before we're done with it.
Sorry to bother you. I know it's New Year's Day, but
yeah, welcome.
You might want to sit down for this one. Yeah.
No, it's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
It really is. And frankly speaking, us on the team, speaking for the team and the city personnel, we understand. We got it. We've heard it. So we're excited to be involved in this. Let's get it done.
Looking forward to a new fresh gateway into Middletown.
Amen.
And considering the range of bids that you received, I think that doing the due diligence with that low bidder hopefully will pay off and be a good deal for the city. So,
Amen.
yeah.
We're hoping to.
Do we anticipate possibly needing a request for state capital for this project or brownfield? I know he had gone back and forth and that we may want to make a plug on the state level, or are we thinking now based on the bids that have come in that we may be okay to save that poker chip for another project?
I think it's safe to, I'll speak.
Yes, yep.
Is that okay? We're going to advocate that you do submit on this one, okay? There is the Ohio Department of Development Brownfield Cleanup Fund.
Right.
And given the fact that we anticipate that we're going to have to do some additional cleanup out there, I'm an advocate that you go ahead and proceed and submit a bid. I know that Ashley and Deborah have already initiated those phone calls and discussions with the Butler County Land Bank, Seth Geisler, and that I think we're moving towards making that recommendation that you submit another application.
Okay.
Time is of the essence.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
And they are on it. They are on it, as you stated.
I agree. In fact, they're moving quickly, and that's good. I like it. They're pushing me.
Thank you very much. Anything else?
Just so you know, a Fenwick guy would have had it down by the end of the year. These Baden guys.
Any other questions or comments from council? Okay, Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Next item is ordinance number O-2023-95, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing the lease of a 2-node network attached storage device through Dell Financial Services LLC and declaring an emergency. There is no action requested until November 7, 2023.
Council, I would like to invite Troy Anderton, our Information Services Director.
Mayor, Council, this item here is the network storage that we use to store all the user data in the city, backups, camera, video. We're asking to do a lease. Usually we buy that outright, but what we're finding is we're left with dead hardware, and then we have to go back out and ask for a lot of money again to make these purchases. So the goal is to incorporate this into our annual budget, so it's just eaten, and at the end of the 5-year term, we're going to get a new storage node and just keep that in perpetuity, or keep it rolling. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Item 4 is resolution number R 2023-29, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency.
So move for adoption.
Second.
Council, this, as he stated, is our resolution that we need to abide by the Butler County Budget Commission's property tax levy in the areas of our general fund, police pension, fire pension, capital improvements, the fire levy, and the conservancy.
Any comments or questions from council? Okay, Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell? Yes. Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Item 5 this evening is ordinance number O-2023-96, an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $10.4 million for the purpose of paying the costs of constructing fire facilities, furnishing and equipping the same, improving the sites thereof, and acquiring interest in land as necessary in connection therewith, together with all necessary appurtenances. This is a first reading.
Mr. Lawley.
Nathan?
Mr. Cahill.
I'll let you cover.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So in front of you tonight for first reading consideration would be legislative authorization, authorizing the finance director to issue up to $10.4 million in long-term general obligation bonds to go towards the cost of construction of the planned 4 fire stations here in the city. I know we had a couple months ago a pretty in-depth review and discussion session on that. Staff was recommending at the time that your consideration to just debt finance the entire estimated gap in funding between what we're experiencing in terms of bid and construction costs versus what the property tax levy is bringing or will bring in to cover debt. We are continuing to work with our construction manager, Pepper Construction and App Architecture, to find some ways to value engineer down the cost of these projects. But this provides a ceiling, a limit for the finance director to then proceed to the capital markets to bridge this gap. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Next item is ordinance number O-2023-97, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing purchases of asphalt by the city purchasing agent in 2024. This is a first reading.
It's fairly simple. I don't really have anything to add.
Item 7 is ordinance number O-2023-98, an ordinance establishing the pay ranges, pay policy, and benefits for various salaried and hourly classifications within the service of the city. This is a first reading.
Nathan will make a presentation to you on this.
Thank you, Mr. Lawley. Before you, council, are our annual pay and benefit ordinances, or PBOs. One being for the city non-bargaining employees, and then one that's a corresponding piece of legislation for the health department. I think is alluded to by the municipal court judge earlier, is that typically, as typical fashion, is after these are passed, the municipal court reviews it and I think either adopts as is, or they make some tweaks and adjustments for their employees and their staff, as is customary every year. So they're not part of this this legislation. So what is in front of you is actually probably one of the more comprehensive amendments to our pay and benefit structure in quite some time. And the genesis of these proposed changes we're out of an identification that for some time the city was lagging behind in market competitiveness in terms of salary ranges and the like, as well as in benefit structure. And also, as council recall, we currently have actually a dichotomy. We have a bifurcation of a pay and benefits ordinances between employees that were hired prior to 2018 and those hired after 2018. And so what we're proposing to you is one comprehensive pay and benefit ordinance that covers all employees, regardless of how long they have or have not been here. So as council recalls, the city commissioned a salary and benefits study through the Bolton Group last year. And that report was finished earlier this year, has been under review by staff. And what this is in front of you tonight, this pay and benefit ordinance proposal, is an implementation of those recommendations for our non-bargaining employees. I think some of the major key takeaways on that one is that I think over the course of last year, with that with a COLA and also that 5% across the board, I think the city made a large stride for most positions. There were some that were a little still out of market competitiveness, but these proposed refinements to that, I think, get us to where council has directed staff as to where you want to be from a workforce retention and attraction standpoint. The other thing to keep in mind is that we had a system here where our pre-18 employees, they had I believe a 6 or 7 step, progression from beginning to end within their pay ranges. Folks after 2018 had, believe it or not, 20 steps. So we had a situation where if Mr. Moon was hired before 18 and Mr. Farrell was after 18 and you both did a really great job and you each got a step increase, Mr. Moon would get 4.7% and Mr. Farrell would get 1 point whatever and change. You kind of see how we had kind of a disconnect. Some of the other major components of this pay and benefit ordinance are going to a full paid time off, a PTO system for leave accrual, getting rid of the duality of sick versus vacation. And so this actually, I think, will allow our employees to kind of maybe also have a little bit better work-life balance. That paid time off, as you'll see here, is not, unlike vacation, is not use or lose it. There is an allowance for accrual. And it's not as restrictive as sick leave, because for sick leave you need to be sick or tending to a loved one or yourself for medical purposes. And so I think this is going to help. I think also help our employees take advantage of that benefit a little bit more often and maybe have a little bit more balance in their work life sphere. Other than that, there were some changes that you'll note throughout the document, just for some clarification and some things that we've run into over the last couple years. But with that, I'm more than happy to answer any questions, because I know this is a lot to digest.
Just a couple points on that also. We'll be sharing this with employees over the next couple weeks so they get a full understanding. But at the end of the day, this is very, very beneficial to our employees, allows them flexibility. And importantly, we implemented the salary studies that was done over the last couple years to help us retain employees. As Nathan stated, one of the problems we were having when we came to you guys over about a year ago was that we had employees 1 year, 2 years on, and they were leaving because, they recognized, oh my God, it's going to take me 20 years to get to top step. And this is a significant step in the right direction of doing what we need to do to retain good employees.
Yeah, that was going to be my only question. Had you talked to any of the employees yet, or gotten any feedback?
Yeah, we've gotten
preliminarily?
some feedback. Some were concerned with that changeover from sick leave, vacation to the PTO, but when they seen at the end of the day they actually were going to have additional hours, they've come to accept it. Some of it, some of them I will admit, change. They don't like change, and I get that. I was like that on a few things in the fire department, but I think this is the best route to go for the collective organization.
I assume staff has kind of gamed this out, not just for next year's budget, but for 2 or 3 years down the road, to make sure that we have financial runway.
Yeah. We try to adhere to the financial plan, yes.
Thank you.
The next item is ordinance number 2023-99, which is the companion ordinance, an ordinance establishing pay ranges and certain benefits for employee classifications in the Middletown Department of Health and Environment. It's also a first reading. Go to number 9, resolution number R 2023-30, a resolution adopting the applicable portions of the 2023 Butler County, Ohio Hazard Mitigation Plan on behalf of the City of Middletown. This is a first reading.
Council, we belong to a consortium of entities and organizations in Butler County that come together for a collective hazard mitigation plan that essentially allows us to meet FEMA requirements that essentially, should a disaster occur, to be eligible for disaster funds.
Item 10 is resolution number R 2023-31, a resolution authorizing the city manager to apply for a matching grant and enter into a grant agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation, Office of Aviation for the Taxi Lane B1 realignment project at Middletown Regional Airport for fiscal year 2024. This is a first reading.
I don't have anything to add on this and what's in front of me unless, Joe, do you have anything to add? Do you have any questions? It's pretty self-explanatory.
The final legislative item tonight is number 11, which is resolution number R 2023-32, a resolution adopting an update to the policy required by Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 as amended for the Middletown transit system. This is a first reading.
Council, this is a little bit of what Butler County RTA discussed when they were here a few weeks ago, and basically just does some updating to ensure that we follow and abide by the the federal government civil rights standards and rules and regulations.
Thank you. Do we have any new business items this evening that anyone would like to raise? Okay, seeing no movement on that one, we have a request to move to executive session under the authority of ORC.121.22G2 to consider the purchase of property for public purposes or for the sale of property at competitive bidding if premature disclosure of information would give an unfair competitive or bargaining advantage. Do we have a motion to move to executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. King, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes. Okay, do we have any plans to vote following that or take action on anything?
There may be, depending upon your folks' deliberations and discussions, there may be a motion that you may want to make afterwards.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. If we do not, we would adjourn following that until November 7th at 5:30 p.m. here in council chambers. Regardless, we'll come in and back into open session just to close the meeting. So until then, blue skies over Middletown.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Gank, you please call the roll for moving back into open session.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
And I think we have a potential motion agenda, or motion item.
I would like to make a motion authorizing the city manager to negotiate and enter into an amended development agreement with Ohio Regional Contractors for development of the former Roosevelt School site upon terms and conditions that the city manager, in consultation with the legal counsel, determines are in the best interest of the city and will allow for phasing of the project and additional time for infrastructure installation and construction of homes.
Second.
Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
With that, we will adjourn then until November 7th. Until then, blue skies over Middletown.